Hey guys, John Wood here. Welcome to the Stock Market Secrets Podcast. Super excited today. Talking about something that I think is so foundational, like the core key of any kind of asset that you're trying to invest in. It's such a huge foundation that's been really the core of like all the startups and the companies are on. And it's just massive. So super excited to share with you. I will see you after the intro. So the big question is this: how do investors like us, who don't have a PhD in finance or millions to start investing, how do we grow our bank accounts to build real savings and retirements and yet still have the time to do what we really love? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. Awesome. Okay, cool. So I was reading the E-Myth again, and he's talking about this, idea of selling a business and a project. And he's talking about like Ray Kroc and like thinking, if you guys haven't seen The Founders, like this movie about how Ray Kroc went and like started McDonald's, and it's like freaking coolest thing ever. And in the movie, it's all about this idea of him taking, he walked up on the first McDonald's ever, and he thought it was just phenomenal, like insanely great business. Like they were booming, they had like super young employees, so it was super cheap, and it was just like a phenomenal business model. And what he did, he took that, and he went and started like the first major franchise on the planet and really popularized the concept of franchising and totally changed the industry. And now they make like $40 billion a year in revenue. It's crazy, right? They're absolutely crushing it. And the reason they're crushing it is because the way they structure their business, the way they structure their company. And so many people, they go into business for themselves, sort of turn their life into their own jobs. They can become like their own boss. But in reality, they're not actually creating a system, right? They're not creating like a system to create value. And when you think about investing, when you think about business assets, or you think about traditional assets, like the core foundation for any kind of investment is to have a system. Now that system can range, right? Like you could be trading pre-market gainers 9 to noon, or you could just be investing in long-term indices. It depends, right? But the core foundation of any kind of investment is you have a system. You don't just go and, at least most people, you don't just go and buy like 100 random stocks and just pray. Like you have some sort of system that you base your information on. But what's crazy is a lot of people, they'll come into business and then they won't have a system. They won't have a plan. And I want to kind of go deeper into what I mean by system. And there's just one quote that I think is amazing. So I'm going to read this. It's talking about Ray Kroc and sort of what he was doing when he was selling. He wasn't selling hamburgers. What he was selling was business opportunities for franchisees. And his whole goal was to sell franchisees. And that's exactly how he grew McDonald's, right? He didn't grow it by selling hamburgers. He grew it by selling franchises and by selling business opportunities. And in order to sell these franchises, in order to sell these McDonald's, he had to sell a business. And what's crazy is like this was a solid company. Like McDonald's, you would have 5% of them go out of business a year compared to like 70-80% of other companies. So it was a really solid method. But his goal, right, was to make it something that like literally anybody could invest into this and they would have to make money with it. And so he had to make it literally better than any other business opportunity on the planet. And by doing that, he would make people extremely happy and willing to buy it. And here's the key. Here's the foundation right here. And this is where systems come in. They say that, Kroc, armed with that realization, set out about the task of creating a foolproof, predictable business. A systems-dependent business, not a people-dependent business. A business that could work without him. See, this is the key. This is the core. And this is exactly sort of the mentality that I went through going and starting Monerads, is it has to be like, you want to have this future idea of where you want to go. And most people, they start out a company, they have no plans, they have no goals, they're just taking their actions, they're taking the work that they're doing, and then they're trying to sell it to people, and basically their goal is to just keep doing the same thing over and over again. That's the wrong way to go about starting a quality business asset. The strategy and the goal is to have an end goal, an end point, an end mindset of where you want to be, and then work towards that. They have this really great case study with IBM. IBM got to one of the largest business on the planet, $80 billion. How do you think they did that? Do you think they did that by saying, we're just going to do the same thing over and over again? The answer is no. They started the company with a vision for where they wanted their future to be. They started a company knowing that they were going to be this huge success instinctively, and then aligning their actions in a way to make it happen. And so here's the core. Here's the foundation, right? You want to make sure that when you think about, creating these business assets or creating these investment assets or these systems for your investing, you want to think constantly about that end goal and then figure out what systems you need to create to get there. Systems that don't rely on you, but instead are going to be like about the underlying company. So for instance, with Monerads, like the entire company is based on systems, based on blockchain systems, based on mining, it's based on cryptocurrency, it's based on systems that are scalable. And that's the core, right? With any kind of business asset, you want stuff that scales. And I mean, I could talk all day about scale, but the core foundation of it is that you as a human being only have 24 hours in a day. And instinctively and natively, you cannot scale. The only thing that can scale are systems and business systems that can grow and grow. And obviously investing systems that just grow and grow and grow and grow. Because what's cool, like with investments, right? You can put another 10 on the amount of shares that you can buy, another 0 on the amount of shares that you buy. You can put another 100, multiply your position size by 100, and now all of a sudden you're doing the exact same thing, but you're trading, 100 times more, right? So with investing, like all you have to do is add zeros to your positions, and they get bigger, or invest in other leveraged vehicles, and your positions get bigger. It's the same thing with business. You want to work or create or fund and invest in businesses that will scale and that will grow based on systems, not based on people. You look at companies like some of the most valuable companies on this planet, Amazon, Uber, Lyft. What do they have in common? They are systems, and from the beginning they were set up as systems. And from the beginning, here's the key part: they had a very large, overarching, long-term goal. And as soon as they had that goal, they were able to create the systems, turn it into reality. Right? That's the foundation. You want to have systems that scale, and you want to start your company or start investing in companies that are founded based on systems. Because you don't have a system, then in reality, if you guys ever watch like shows like Shark Tank, right? Like they'll ask, all these entrepreneurs, what's different about yours from everybody else's, or what makes you different in the marketplace, or what makes you stand out, or do you have a patent for that, or stuff like that. And in reality, those questions all come down to one core foundational concept, and it's, do you have a unique system? Because if you have a unique system, then no one can touch you, right? You create your own ecosystem. You look at Apple, they created their own system for the operating system, their own system for electronics, for consumer they totally separated themselves from the entire market. And because of that, because they have their own system, they're worth a tremendous amount of money. Same thing, you look at ClickFunnels. ClickFunnels, they created their own system in the sales funnel, like in the web page building space. And they created a system that they sell as a software that absolutely freaking crushes it. Why? Because they have a system that no one else has. They have a system, and that system is the business. You got to understand, the business is the system. For Apple, their computers are the business, and their computers are the system. It's the same thing with any company. You look at, Bird. What's the thing with Bird? Bird has a system. They have scooters. They have people to charge scooters, and they have people to pay for the scooters to ride them. That's a system. And that scales. You want 10 times more income, get 10 times more scooters. It's all based on systems. And so when you're brainstorming for ideas for a startup company, or when you're looking at investing into large corporations or maybe growing corporations, think about creating, or realize that you need to see systems that are instilled in the company. Because in reality, at the end of the day, a vast majority, like 80% of the value of a company comes from the systems that it has in place to perpetuate value. And that's just a very simple process. You got to understand that, eventually you have these companies and they last for years, right? Why not years, but like decades, or hundreds of years. You have companies like GE that have been around forever. Why do you think those companies still exist? They exist because the person who founded it, like literally hundreds of years ago, created it with systems in mind, not with people in mind, with systems in mind. And a lot of times, sure, you have people that have to fulfill the roles in the system, and that's 100% natural, 100% normal. Like for me, I have a ton of people that work for me, right? Because I have systems that require labor, at least until they get replaced by machines. I don't know if I don't think that'll happen. But you have to have the systems built before you go to that next stage, before you go to the people, or before you go to the scaling, especially with investments, right? If you want to have an investment system, or you have like a screener, like you have to make sure that the system works. You have to make sure, if you're using a screener, if you're using like a pre-market screener, like you want to make sure that the screener works, and then you start to scale up your positions after you have it started, right? It all comes out of making it sure that it works on the small scale, and then as soon as you can show either yourself that it works, or investors that it works, like it just explodes after that, because you yourself can just start investing more and more and more into it. Or if it's maybe like a startup company or something, like you can go get investors. Now obviously there's like different ways to do that, and like I kind of prefer this idea of like just getting cash from your first clients, and that's kind of what I've been trying to do with Monero ads, and that's the goal. But definitely like this idea that like you want to be sort of your own biggest investor, and you want to prove to yourself that you deserve to do that by creating fundamentally strong foundational systems, and then sticking to those systems, proving that the systems work, proving that the systems return cash. If you go and you lay your AT&T and you lay a bunch of cable under the street, you want to see a return in Brooklyn before you scale to all of New York. It's just a very basic idea of creating quality business systems. And you should look for this in your own work and also the work of the companies you invest in. So really, really powerful concept here. And honestly, you're going to start looking at these companies, now looking at any company, and realize that, a vast majority of the value created in any kind of institution comes from systems. I'm here at Tech, and where do you think the value of this college comes from? Do you think it comes from all the people here? No, it comes from the system of teaching. It comes from the systems in place to perpetuate, this degree program or whatever that they sell to kids or their parents, and that creates a tremendous amount of value and creates a huge amount of output in the marketplace because it all comes down to systems. So pretty cool stuff, guys. Thank you guys so much for listening. Hope you had an amazing day. Go out there, apply it, absolutely crush it. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye. Want more stock market secrets? If so, you'll get your free copy of my best-selling book, 9 to Noon. You get your free copy plus $11,176 of unannounced bonuses. It took me years to uncover, completely for free at 9toNoonSecrets.com. Inside 9 to Noon, you'll find the top 38 secrets you can use to double your portfolio every 2 years and make upwards of 10% daily.